Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage, an equal housing lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, Lo-Fi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number, ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number, MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we got a busy show today. The Oilers forced Game 6 in the Stanley Cup Final. Unfortunately, we lost a legend in the game of baseball. The Yankees and Orioles continue their series tonight with Garrett Cole making his return. But we got to start with the basketball, and we got to start with the Celtics, who on Monday night, for the first time since 2008 and for the 18th time in franchise history, won the NBA championship. They beat the Mavs 4-1, a dominant performance all postseason. No team came within 5 games of them. They beat the Mavericks in 5 games. And we got to start with the Celtics and why they won this, why the Celtics won this championship. And number one, I think it was because Jason Tatum had a really good series. Jason Tatum had a real good series. He was great in Game 3. He was great in Game 5. He was close to winning Finals MVP. He had a great series. That's one of the reasons. Number 2, the role players. Kristaps Porzingis had a big Game 1. And Drew Holiday had a big Game 2. Those were key. If Holiday doesn't have the Game 2 he has, the Mavs probably win Game 2. So the role players really stepped up in Games 1 and 2 for the Celtics, and that set the tone in the series because they went up 2-0. They took a 2-0 lead in this series. And then number 3, Jaylen Brown had a great series. And the key and the biggest thing with Jaylen Brown in this series and why he was the Finals MVP is I know he averaged over 20 points a game, but he made the big shots when it mattered. He made the big plays when it mattered. He had the layup in Game 2 to close out that game, and he had the big shot in Game 3. So the 3 biggest reasons why the Celtics won it: Tatum was good, role players stepped up in Games 1 and 2, and Jaylen Brown was huge in this series.
Yeah, I'm gonna for the Celtics. My first one is of their defense. In all 4 of the wins of the series, they gave up less than 100 points. And just all of them are all pretty good defenders the Celtics have, and they were able to they play that heavy switch style defensively, and they held Luka to 40% from the field and 25% from 3. And nobody else from the Mavs really could do anything outside of Game 4. And the defense of Boston has been outstanding all year, and they played really well in the series against the Mavericks. And the second one was the balanced offense. Tatum is their best player, and and Jaylen Brown, Jaylen Brown, the MVP, only averaged 20 points a game this series. And and when Tatum wasn't on, especially Game 1 and Game 2, he had like 11 or 12 assists in that game. And the other guys, Drew Holiday played really well. Derek White had a good series, and then Horford and Porzingis, when he was available, they could stretch the floor and knock down jumpers, and that really disrupted Dallas's defense down low, what they wanted to do. And then the third one was, the past experience for the Celtics. Kind of the last couple of years, we've seen this group of Tatum and Brown not be able to get a little hump. And, and I think they really helped them because I felt like, it doesn't matter now with the path that they went through to get here, but they took care of their business, and they were outstanding. They won what this year, like 80 and 21.
Yeah, won 80 games. So, yeah, they won 80 games.
Yeah, so this was the best team all regular season long, and they took care of business, and they won. They won the finals. So I think the pass guards really helped them, as well, kind of make sure that you know they really took care of their business. Pretty much the whole postseason. I know Game 4, who knows? They just maybe wanted to go win it in Boston. They kind of knew, and just kind of pressures off Dallas too in that game. But other than that, really, they put outstanding.
And you talked about the experience, and that was big. That was big for the Celtics, and I think that played a factor for the Mavs, and I think it played a factor for their best player in Luka Doncic. And then and this leads me to my next point: why did the Mavs come up short? I think for my first point is Game 3 with Luka. Game 3 with Luka. I mean, he was really good in this series. I'll give him that. I'll give him that. Luka was really, really good in this series, but in Game 3, that was probably one of his. I know he scored 27 points. That was probably some of his worst games. He was way, way, way too concerned with the officiating. And this has been a problem throughout his career. He was way too concerned about the officiating in Game 3. And then the charge he took, the worst play of the series was the charge he took in Game 3. Because he needed to be in a must-win game, you have got to have your best player out there. This is a top 3 player in the game. He has got to be out there at the end of the game. He cannot foul out with 6 minutes to go. So Luka's lack of experience, and him being immature in Game 3, and then taking that charge from Jaylen Brown, that was a huge play. That was a huge play. I think, and pretty much at that point, I think that it was series over when he took that charge and he fouled out of Game 3, because I had a good feeling the Mavs were not going to win Game 3 after that, and they didn't. So that was a huge play in that game. Number 2. Role players were pretty much terrible for the role players were terrible. Role players were terrible for the Mavs. I mean, Gafford had a really bad series. Derrick Jones Jr. had a bad series. Washington, he was up and down, but he got to a really slow start in Game 3. Got hot at the end of Game 3, but it was too little, too late. So the role players did not have a good series at all for the Mavs. And then the most important point: Kyrie Irving did not have a good series. Kyrie Irving did not have the series he needed to have for the Mavs to win. He did not. I mean, especially in the games in Boston. The games in Boston, he averaged under 15 points a game. So he was not he was not the Robin to Luka's Batman. He was not in this series. He averaging under 15 points a game. He just did not play well in any of the games in Boston. That's why I changed my pick mid-series. That's why I changed my pick, because I just did not trust Kyrie to come up big in Boston. The difference in the series, and I said it last week, the second best player on each team. You had Jaylen Brown, who averaged over 20 points a game in the series. And you had Kyrie Irving, who averaged 14 points a game. That was the difference. That was the big difference in the series. It was Kyrie not coming up big in the series. So my 3 were Luka's Game 3, Mavs role player not stepping up, and then Kyrie not playing and not having a good series. And that, for me, that's why the Mavs came up short.
Yeah, I'll start with Kyrie, which you had for your last one. Yeah, Kyrie just didn't play well. Especially in Boston, and I felt like in those 3 games up there, he was just trying to force the game to come. He's just trying to force it instead of letting the game come to him, and I don't think that helped. I think was trying to do too much up there, and that really affected him. Yeah, he averaged less than 15 points a game, and he was just off, and they had no chance. After Game 1 and Game 2, the way you saw him play up there, you didn't think that they were going to be able to steal one. And then that leads me into my next point, was the role guys. They didn't step up outside of Game 4, but all the pressure was off Dallas at that point, and you could kind of tell. And obviously Dallas, played really, really well that evening, and we're able to come up. But yeah, like PJ Washington, wasn't great most of the series. Derrick Jones didn't, he was he didn't shoot the ball really well either. Josh Green came off the bench and played well in Game 5, but you didn't really get much. Like, they tried 18 minutes from Tim Hardaway in Game 3, and he gave you nothing. So, whatever Jason Kidd tried to do to get some other guys going, it just did not work. And, it just, none of those guys could get going, and that was a huge part of it. And then, the third one was Luka. Yeah, the Game 3 that's not, that was awful. He can't, if you don't like the calls, I get it. You got to move on, though. And he never did. And to foul out with 6 minutes left, you were done. And he's got to be able to realize at this point in his career that he needs to be on the floor, and to make that mistake, that's on him. So Luka, Game 3, if they could have stole that one, you make it a series, but it just, they didn't. It's a game, you could have really won. Game 2 and Game 3 were ones you could have had, and not to get both of those. You're not going to beat the Celtics team, realistically, 6 times. So to not be able to close out those two were definitely crucial in that series. And Luka's a big part of why they won Game 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Luka was definitely a big part of why they didn't win that game. And then let's go to him. What did we learn about Luka Doncic in this series? I think what we learned about him. Let's just say, no matter what happened, I know people are getting on him right now for losing the finals. He's still clearly a top 3 player in the game, and he was the best. And he was the best player on the floor in the series. I don't want to hear anything different. He's clearly a top 3 player in basketball. But what we learned about him is his defense is not great at times, or is not really that good at all. His defense, he has trouble defensively, and we also learn about him is he still complains to the referees. And as we said earlier, this happened in Game 3. You got a must-win game for your team, and you're more worried about the officials than you are winning the basketball game. That was my issue with Luka in Game 3. So I think he's a great player, and he's a top 3 player in the game, but there's a reason I got him behind Jokic. I got him behind Giannis. He's not as good as either of those two guys defensively, and at times he's too worried about officials and not worrying about winning the game. He's not as mature as those two guys. It could come, and he could eventually end up being the best player in the game. The guy averaged 33, 9, and 9 this year. His offensive talent is off the charts. He's clearly a top 3 player, but he's got to get more mature. And he's got to get better on defense if he wants to be the best player in the league.
Yeah, you put it perfectly. He's got to grow up. To be acting like he's a 5-year-old that doesn't get his way he will not win a title till he grows up, because this is gonna just linger on in tight games in a big spot like this. He's gonna be complaining, more than you said. He's gonna act more going after the officials than trying to win the basketball game, and that's going to be tough to win a title if he continues to be that way. And yeah, the defense again. I know it's not a defensive league, but you got to play a little bit of defense. He doesn't play it at all. Him and Kyrie were sieves this whole series, and Boston exposed them, both of them. It just he's got to dial it back with the attitude and going after the officials, and and it's so bad that the refs won't even tee him up at one of these points. Like, he's gonna get they're just going to start teeing you up immediately, and they're going to get 2, and you're going to be out of here, and then suspension. So he's got to calm it down a bit, big time. And then going at the post-game conference, and that's the first thing, like the refs lost the game. Like that
was ridiculous. That was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. You got to take accountability there. You just fouled out of a game with 4 minutes to go. You got to take accountability. You can't blame the referees. You can't be doing that.
Yeah, you can't. I know. Again, I get it. The emotions. He's an emotional guy, but yeah, you got to, you got to be able to kind of be able to, be a little bit more level-headed in those moments and those spots. And, until he does that, I don't think this guy's winning a title.
Yeah, he's got to mature. He's got to learn from this. But look at Jason Tatum. The guy we're going to talk about next. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They learned from this, so he's definitely. I think this could be a really good learning experience for Luka. Because you saw what happened when he got to the conference finals 2 years ago. He got beat pretty good by the Warriors. Then he came back 2 years later, beat the Timberwolves, and got to the NBA Finals. So I think this is a learning experience. I think there's a championship in his future. I definitely do. He's clearly a top 3 player in the game. I don't want to hear any different. I don't want to hear any different about him not being a top 3 player in the game. The only guys who're taking over him are Jokic and Giannis. But to get to that peak, to become a champion, become an MVP, to become the best player in the game, as you said, he's got to grow up, and he's got to play a little bit of defense.
Yeah, he does. Until that happens, I don't. He's definitely one of the top 3 players in the sport right now. He's unique at his position. And he's a great offensive talent. And till he just grows up, this is gonna be the issue for him. That in the defense, we'll see if he's able to. If this is a learning experience, it should, but we'll see. Somebody in that organization or somebody in his circle has got to tell him to grow up a little bit.
Yep, absolutely. Now we will move on to the other superstar in this series who won his first championship. And he was knocking on the door for a while, but he won his first championship, and that is Jason Tatum. And what do we learn about Jason Tatum in this series? I think we learned about him is he's clearly a top 10 player in the league. He clearly is. I think he could be the best player on a championship team. I think he can be. But here's the but with Jason Tatum, though. I think he's the best player in the Celtics, but I don't think he's a top 5 player in the league. I don't. And the reason why is a lot of the big plays that were made in this series and in the previous series were made by Jaylen Brown. They were made by Jaylen Brown, not him. And we posed the question before the series: if the Celtics win, do you put Tatum? Is Tatum a top 5 player in the league? And I said if he wins the MVP. Now the Celtics won, but he didn't win the MVP, and I felt like Jaylen Brown deserved the MVP. So I'm gonna say no. I think he's a top 10 player. I think he'd be the best player on a championship team, and I still think he's the best player in the Celtics. But I would not. I think what we learned is he is not a top 5 player. He's not a great closer. That's the thing. Right now, he's not a great closer. Now he won a championship with a really good team behind him, but he's not a closer. That's why I would take obviously the top 3 guys: Jokic, Giannis, and Luka, and then I would say even Ant-Man and SGA over him right now. I think he's a top 10 player. I think he could be the best player on a championship team. What we learned is he's not a great closer, so that's why I wouldn't put him top 5.
Yeah, I'd have him in the top 10. Yeah, Jaylen Brown, he made some of the big shots in that series. In the last couple of series, and yeah, Tatum played well, and he averaged 31 for the series. I thought, and again, I think there's times when he kind of knows maybe shots not falling, and I thought he did a really good job at distributing, and they got an awesome team around them that kind of fits, and what they can do defensively. They just have so much talent. But yeah, again, he got over that hump to win the title. But yeah, it's kind of the fourth quarter. Can he make that big basket for him? Could he, hit that big shot? And yeah, we haven't totally seen that. Again, he's still 26 and he's got plenty of time. He's just getting kind of to his prime now. So, which is kind of great for the Celtics. And, it sounds like they're going to offer him $63 million a year for 4 or 5 years. And
which they should. He deserves to be a supermax player. He's a top 10 player in the league without question.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He deserves it. They got him and Brown now locked up for a while. We'll see what what else they could do. It's a lot of money going to 2 players, so we'll see what else kind of, Brad Stevens done a great job, running it up there. But yeah, Tatum has had a really good series, and yeah, that Jaylen Brown deserved to win it. But yeah, it's kind of the closing. He's a good defender. He's a good passer. He scored all 3 levels, so he's a pretty complete player. Now can he put all together, and or he has put it all together, but yeah, now the closing in the fourth quarter, can he hit those big shots for team?
Yeah, and for him, and the thing is, the big question is, can the Celtics be a dynasty? Can the Celtics win multiple championships? And yes, we're going to get to the Celtics run after this, but I'm not going to totally knock the Celtics run, but they didn't have to go against Jimmy Butler. They didn't have to go against, Donovan Mitchell for a couple of games. They didn't have to face the Nuggets. If this team wants to win multiple championships, I feel like he has to be that guy, that top 5 guy. I mean, yes, they can win 1 championship of being that top 10 guy, but if they want to win multiple titles, I think he's got to be that top 5 guy. That guy is closing out game. That guy who is that closer.
Yeah, I think I think for Boston, because right now I think the team I'd be worried about. The only other team I'd be worried is like the Knicks. I don't. The Bucks, I'm kind of.
I think with the talent the Bucks have, if Giannis stays healthy, I would be. I'd still. I don't know about Miami, but yeah, the Knicks are definitely a concern. But I would say Milwaukee too, just because of them having the player they have.
Yeah, Giannis is unbelievable. I don't like Doc. I've read some things about maybe Dame's not happy in Milwaukee. Maybe some things aren't going well there. So, what could that situation bring? So, I think I think Tatum could win a couple more here with the Celtics. They can keep everybody else around and be able to pay the other guys because they're a really deep roster right now. And I know they locked up Jrue Holiday for another couple of years, but I with the East right now, I don't trust the Sixers. The Pacers, can Halliburton take that next step? I think the Celtics could go on a dynasty and win a couple. They've already been to 3 championships, with Tatum.
They've been in 2 NBA finals. They've been in like 5 conference finals with them.
Yeah. So, with the 5 conference finals, like they've been there, and I don't think I don't know how much tougher the East is going to get for them. I really don't. So I think they could go on a dynasty here.
We'll see. But still, I don't think Tatum's top 5, but he had a heck of a season, and he was the best player on a championship team. So you got to give him credit for that. But now we'll talk about the Celtics. We'll wrap up talking about the NBA Finals, talk about the Celtics run and how historic it was. They, beat the Heat in 5 in the first round, beat the Cavs in 5 in the second round, swept the Pacers, and then beat the Mavs in 5. There's really only two other in my lifetime. There have been two runs that have been more dominant. The Warriors in 2017, that was unmatched. They almost went the entire postseason undefeated. And then the Lakers in 2001, they only lost one game. That was the Sixers in Game 1 of the finals. So yes, you could sit there and talk about the Celtics. Oh, the competition, and they didn't play against a lot of star players. They got lucky that Butler didn't play in the series against the Heat, or that Donovan Mitchell missed games against them, or that some of the opponents, the Pacers weren't a great team to make the conference finals, or the Mavs were not even a great team to make the NBA finals. But you got to beat who's out there, and they did, and they dominated. So I think from in our lifetime, I think this is right behind the Warriors in 2017 and the Lakers in 2001.
Yeah, because they didn't really every game of theirs, they either got blown out or they destroyed their opponent. They didn't really have too many close games this postseason. They really took care of it. They blew everybody out. So yeah, this is definitely one of the better runs of our lifetime. And yeah, it doesn't matter who they went up against. If the injuries are not like they were the best team all regular season long. They showed their best team, in the postseason, and they deserve to win it. They took care of their business. It's not their fault that, Giannis was hurt, Embiid was banged up, the Knicks were down, or Jimmy Butler was hurt, and the Heat, it wasn't the same Heat team as last year. So, for them, it was a really historic run for them, because they made it look pretty easy, because the Heat game that they lost in Game 2, the Heat they shot like 40% from three.
Yeah,
they just torched them. Cleveland did that Game 2, I believe, as well. So, in Game 4, I think they knew I think it was more of they kind of wanted to finish things in Boston, instead of Dallas, because they didn't play great at all. They looked awful that night. But it was a pretty historic run. For that team, the way they took care of business this year, was impressive.
It sure was. It absolutely was. And well deserved. Winning their 18th championship. They were expected to do before the season. They lived up to expectations and did it. So congratulations to the Celtics on winning their 18th championship. But we'll move on to we'll quickly talk about some other NBA offseason news. Pascal Siakam looks like he's going to re-sign with the Pacers, which is big for them because it's good to have that Robin there. I mean, he was a big reason why the Pacer team got to the conference finals, why they got past the Knicks, won that Game 7 at the Garden, got to the conference finals against the Celtics. So Siakam coming back to the Pacers, that's going to help them. And then Monty Williams getting fired by the Pistons. And we said it earlier when they went on that historic losing streak. You lose 28 in a row, you're probably eventually going to lose your job. That's what happened to Monty Williams.
Yeah, well, I'll start with Siakam. Yeah, I thought he was a really nice pickup at the time. They were able to re-sign him, and he fit that team really well. He can stretch the floor. He's a decent defender, but he was a mismatch nightmare most of that series against Milwaukee. He played really, really well. So I think he's worth the max that they're giving him, and they got a young core there, and we'll see if Haliburton can make that next step. They got there to do the conference finals this year. They could have won a couple games that series too in Boston. They just couldn't finish down the stretch. So maybe some experience there, but I think the future's bright there at Indiana. It's Siakam signing, and then with Monty, I never understood why he got all that money. And then you lose 28 in a row, you're in trouble. I don't know why it took him 2 months to why they're firing him a week before the draft. Makes not much sense. And then he was playing Keelan Hayes over Jaden Ivey for like half the year.
I don't get that. I really don't get that at all.
Yeah,
and it's funny that coach got to an NBA final 3 years ago, and now he's been fired. He got fired last year, and he got fired again.
Yeah, he's which is crazy, but and he's got a lot of money now, buyouts. So he might not be rushing back to get into it, but I didn't think Monty did a great job. And Boston won 16 postseason games. This Pistons all year won 15. Like that's
crazy.
That's sad.
Yeah, it is. It is sad. It's sad. And I know they got Cade Cunningham, but whoever gets that job, good luck to them. But we're going to shift over to the Stanley Cup. And unlike the NBA Finals, there will be a Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals as the Oilers last night beat the Panthers 5-3. McDavid had 2 goals. I mean, a big performance by him. And that's been, I think it's been the difference. I think that's been Connor McDavid stepping up. And Justin, I'll give you the floor. What do the Oilers have to do to make a historic comeback? I think there's only been one team. I think it was the 1942 Maple Leafs that came back from down 0-3 to win a Stanley Cup. What do the Oilers got to do to make a historic comeback?
Yeah, you're right. The Maple Leafs 42 are the only team that come back down 0-3. And for the Oilers, I brought it up last week because I know points. They had to find their game. They had to find kind of the speed, their speed game, and they found it. They've been awesome, and I think it's they've been able to play their game the last 7 periods. They've been unbelievable. They've scored 15 goals, and they've had foot on their heels here. So number one is continue to play their game. Number two, continue to fire pucks on Bobrovsky. Seems like a confidence thing now. Like that goal he gave out to McDavid last night to make it 3-0, was a bad one. And he gave up 5 goals on 16 shots on Saturday night. So just keep firing pucks at him because I think think the confidence right now may be a little shaken. If you can get to him again early, get a couple on him, that place is gonna be nuts Friday night. And put all the pressure on the Panthers now. And then number three is McDavid just continues to display his magic. He's got 8 points the last 2 games. That I don't know if did you see that assist he had to Perry last night?
Oh yeah, Corey Perry. Yeah, that was a really good assist. Yeah.
Yeah, dangles through 2 guys, and that was an insane play. And the first couple of games, Barkov did a great job of kind of keeping them in check. And lately, the Panthers have had no answer for him. So the way McDavid's playing, I think even the Oilers lose the cup, I think he's getting the Conn Smythe because Bobrovsky's not getting it. And Florida's offensively, scoring wise, it's been very it's been spread out. Like I think even if they lose, I think McDavid's gonna get the Conn Smythe at this point. He's been that good. So for the Oilers, yeah, McDavid continues to be well, fire pucks to the neck, and continue to play your game.
Yeah, for me, same thing. McDavid just continues to be great. McDavid just continues to be that guy. I know it's hockey. It's tough for one guy to do it, but McDavid has done it the last 2 games. He's kept the Oilers season alive. Now, we know it's going to be a raucous crowd in Edmonton on Friday night. What do the Panthers have to do to win their first Stanley Cup?
For them, they got to get their game back. They're all kind of about the forecheck, and the first couple of games they did a really good job with the Oilers of keeping them in checking that. But now, the Oilers have done a really good job getting the puck off. They're 6 quick. They're moving their feet. You saw the goal Kachuk scored last night. That was a forecheck, a turnover. Bouchard was out of position as a defenseman, and Kachuk took advantage of it and scored. They got to get back to that. That's how they beat the Rangers. The Rangers are so bad at trying to clear the puck. So again, last 7 periods, Oilers scored 15 goals on them. So for a Florida team that's really good defensively, they got to get it better. And number two is the special teams got to step up. They're taking way too many dumb penalties. And then the last 2 games too, the Oilers they've scored back-to-back goals on shorthanded. And that's kind of been coming back to bite them lately. So they were really good the first couple games. They were really good at special teams against the Rangers for the most part. Now the last couple of games, special teams haven't been good. There's too many dumb penalties, and they got to stay out of the box. And then number 3 is in Game 6, you got to get off to a hot start. You got to get the first goal of the game. You've gone off to a couple slow starts here. The last 2 games, you've given up 2 goals. You got to put some pressure back on the Oilers here, because all the pressure obviously is squarely on the Panthers now, and you got to be able to get 1 or 2 early, kind of get one by Skinner. Hopefully, Bobrovsky makes a couple of big saves early, kind of gain his confidence back. But for Florida, they got to come out firing on Friday night, like they do kind of in the third period for, the first couple of games of the series where they played really well. They got to come out and just they got to have a hot start to this game.
For me, it's Bobrovsky's got to get back on track. The first 2 games of the series, he only allowed 1 goal. And then they were up 4-1. He was playing really well. They were up 4-1 in Game 3. And this is where I feel like the series kind of turned a little bit here, is they were up 4-1 in Game 3, and the Oilers scored 2 goals. And you saw when they were up 4-1, that crowd in Edmonton was devastated. That crowd was devastated. But then Edmonton came back and scored 2 goals. And I think that kind of turned the series around. So he's got to get it back. He's in a funk. He's in a funk right now. He gave up those 2 goals in the third period of game 2. Or Game 3, I mean. And then in Game 4, he was awful. He got pulled. And then last night, he gave up 4 goals. He's in a funk. So he has got to get back. He's got to get back on point. Bobrovsky's got to get back, or this could be a historic comeback. I would not be shocked. This could be a historic comeback. This leads us to our my next question. Series prediction right now. What do you think it's going to be? How do you think this thing's going to end up?
I keep going back and forth. I'm going to say the Panthers. I'll stick to my original prediction of Panthers get it done in 6, but I would not be shocked the Oilers come back and stun them the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. I think the Oilers do win Game 6. I think they force that Game 7, but I think in a tight Game 7, I think the home team wins it, and I do think the Panthers avenge their cup loss from a year ago, and I do think they win their first Stanley Cup. So we do have the Panthers. We both have the Panthers win. I know I picked the Oilers in 6, but if they get to a Game 7, I do think the Oilers win Game 6 with that raucous crowd. But if they get to a Game 7, I got to go with the Panthers.
Yeah, I can see why. I'm going back and forth. I'll stick my original pick, but yeah, the Oilers. I could see the Oilers doing it, man. And the way McDavid's playing, he just broke Gretzky's all-time assist for or assist in a playoff year with like 32 the other night. And yeah, he like the way McDavid, he's up in Gretzky Lemieux territory. Like he's gonna be that good. And those two guys are unbelievable. And yeah, like if they can't still McDavid, I could totally see the Oilers coming back and finally getting the curse, finally getting the cup back up there in Canada for the first time in 31 years.
Yeah, crazy. Lots riding on these finals. You either have a team who's never won a cup or a country that's never had a Stanley Cup champion in over 30 years, and you got the best player in hockey, you got the best player in the game, hands down, to try to win a Stanley Cup. So there's really great storylines in this cup final right now.
Yeah, there has, and I'm glad, because I thought going in it was going to be a good series, and it's, first couple games obviously did not live up to that, but yeah, since then now it's really turned into a fun series, and the tables have turned pretty quickly, and gotta give Oilers coach Chris Knobloch a ton of credit. He's made the adjustments and he's gotten them going, and they're playing really, really well right now. So yeah, we're in for a great, hopefully Game 6, and maybe we'll get the that Game 7 too, but yeah, it's been a really fun one, and I think the way McDavid's played the last couple games, I just gotta really help out hockey, because like what he's doing is just, again, like it's stuff we haven't seen since Gretzky and Lemieux, and Lemieux's been gone for what now, almost 15, 20 years. He hasn't. So I think it's good for the sport. That you got a guy like McDavid kind of front and center right now.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And we'll see what ends up happening in the Stanley Cup. We'll definitely be recapping it next week. We'll definitely be recapping what happens in the Stanley Cup next week. But the Yankees got a huge series in Baltimore, and their ace is set to return to the mound tonight. Before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
So before we talk about the Yankees, we had some really, really sad news yesterday as the great the great Willie Mays, passed away at the age of 93. And what a resume he had. I mean, he's right there with Babe Ruth as one of the greatest players of all time. 24-time All-Star. That's crazy. 24-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 12-time Gold Glove, 1954 World Series champion. We'll always remember the catch he made in the World Series against Cleveland. I won't say the name, but Cleveland, against Cleveland when he made that running catch. That was one of the, I mean, it's still remembered to this day, that catch he made in the World Series. He was a phenomenal player, a phenomenal person. He was really a 5-tool player. He had speed. He was great defensively. He had great power. He could hit for average. He's one of the all-time greats, and it was just so sad to see him go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's one of the greatest kind of baseball players of all time. He's going to be, he's been right there with Babe Ruth. Probably the best all-around player, of all time. Yeah, he had so many great catches. That one in 54. That the 70-year anniversary is going to be coming up later in the year, and yeah, he's just such an electrifying player. And yeah, I wonder how many more home runs he would have hit if he didn't play most of his career at like Polo Grounds. Does he have more than Hank Aaron? Like I think it's a real possibility. So yeah, he's one of those guys that obviously I didn't get to see him live. Like I would love to go, but he's one of those guys that like on my list of guys, like I would love to go back in time and be able to watch live. Because he just seems like that, exciting a player. And yeah, it's sad to lose him at 93. It's crazy. You lose Jerry West a week ago and Bill Walton, like, a month ago. So 3 legends of their respective sports, gone with them in a month. So, yeah, it's definitely sad. And, yeah, it's one of the best of all time.
He was. I mean, he's right there with Babe Ruth as one of the greatest players of all time, and he really, I mean, as Jackie Robinson definitely paved the way for African American players, but he also did as well. He also did as well. He was just when you think of the Giants, you obviously think of 2 players. You think of him, you think of Barry Bonds, and he was one of those players you always thought about because he played for the New York Giants. He played for the San Francisco Giants. He was on that 54 championship team for the Giants. I mean, just a phenomenal player and just a phenomenal person. They called him the Say Hey Kid for a reason. Just one of the all-time greats in Major League Baseball. And and it ties into this week too in baseball because at Rockwell Field, the Negro Leagues are having a special game there and on Fox tomorrow night. And I'll be tuned in for that. I'll definitely be tuned because there's going to be no basketball. There's no hockey. So I'll be tuned in for that game, that Giants Cardinals game. And yeah, and the thing is you have like the good thing about that game is you have 2 historic franchises who had 2 historic, 3 historic African-American players for me with Willie Mays with the Giants. And then you had Bob Gibson and Lou Brock for the Cardinals. So I'm going to be really tuned in tonight because they had said he really couldn't make the trip to Alabama, which was sad. But unfortunately, he passed away yesterday. So he was a great player, and tomorrow night's game should be very, very emotional on Fox.
Yeah, it should. I definitely. Yeah, I imagine they're gonna have some big pregame ceremony for Willie Mays, and yeah, it's gonna be cool. And that's like the only game tomorrow night besides like the Padres, but that doesn't start till like 9:40. So like this is like it. It should do really good numbers for the sport now that, there's no NBA Game 6 NBA tomorrow. So, yeah, it's going to be a special scene tomorrow night. Mad Jack's plays going to be sold out. Yeah, it would have been awesome to see him down there because I have to imagine would have loved to see another Major League game down there. But, yeah, it should do great numbers. Yeah, it's going to be great for the sport. And that's one of the great things Manfred's done is this game and then the Field of Dreams game too. Like
I mean, give Manfred a lot of credit the way he's taking advantage of opportunities. Yeah, the Field of Dreams game, a game like this, even the new rules. Let me tell you, in the last 4 years, he's done a really good job as a commissioner. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he has definitely, I think, helped his likability as the commissioner of baseball. Yeah, I do think he's doing a better job marketing the sport and with the new rules as well. So yeah, I do think he's starting to do a better job here, as a commissioner after the first while there he was not doing very good at all. And do think he's definitely getting better there as the commissioner.
Absolutely. So we will move on to a big series this week between the Orioles and the Yankees. Yesterday, the Yankees won 4-2 over the Orioles. They had a little bit of a scare Aaron Judge with a hand injury, but it looks like he's going to be fine. And Rizzo won't, obviously, unfortunately, Rizzo is going to be out for a while, but Aaron Judge looks like he is going to be fine. But the big story to tonight is going to be Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole making his first start of the season against the Orioles. And what do we expect from Garrett Cole tonight? What do we expect from him? I expect, maybe five plus innings. I don't think they're gonna. How many? What was the most he threw in the minors? Do you know?
70. I think he was last Friday, threw about 75 pitches. I'm only expecting like 80 out of him tonight.
Gotcha. So you're thinking maybe about five and a third, 5 2/3. Yeah, it is a good lineup too. He's facing a really good lineup at the Orioles. But it'd be nice. It's nice to see him back. Nice to see him back in this rotation. This rotation has been excellent with Heel, with Stroman, with I know he didn't pitch well on Saturday, but with Rondon, with Nestor, with Schmidt. This rotation's been outstanding. It's great to have him back in the rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that, Schmidt's going on the 60-day IL, you're not going to have him back for a while. And yeah, it was awesome to get last night with Nestor because, now you got Cole tonight and then you got Luis Heel, who, arguably been the best pitcher in baseball this year, one of the best. And so, you kind of set yourself up really good. So, yeah, it's exciting to get Cole back. It was a bit scary after, the hand injury because you almost felt like, okay, we're getting the best pitcher back in baseball today, but we may lose the best hitter in baseball, So luckily, seems like they avoid the scare. But yeah, I'm excited to see Cole on the mound. It's going to be a good lineup, good test for him tonight. Because Friday I think he struck out 10 of the 14 batters he faced or whatever. Like I need to see any of it, but heard the stuff looked great and he was in command big time the other night. So I think the fastball is 97, 98. I read so. Definitely excited to see him get back on the mound, especially with this way the team's playing, because the rotation was a big thing going in, after the Yankees lost and was, how could they, how would they do navigating without Cole for a couple months? And they've done excellent job. They had their hiccups this weekend, but other than that, there really hasn't been too much to complain about the rotation.
No, not at all. That is the that's the strength of this team. That's one of the strengths of this team. Their offense is really good. I think the biggest weakness right now at the Yankees is their bullpen. I mean, Clay Holmes blew the save against the Royals. They were, it was 4-3 on Sunday night. They ended up losing 9-3. So I think the bullpen's still really good, but I think the biggest, if there is a weakness, it is the bullpen and playing well in these big games. They lost, I know they beat the Orioles last night. But they lost 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox, 3 out of 4 against the Orioles. So playing well against these big time teams, that's another concern of mine.
Yeah, because they're 10-10 against the division. That's they got to, you got to play better against your division,
especially the division this year because it's not as good as it's been.
No, it's not. Tampa's down. Toronto's kind of been mediocre the last couple of years. Boston's starting to play some good baseball right now. They're hot. So, and yeah, Orioles, you got 15 division games here in the last 23 before the All-Star break, and then you open up after the break against Tampa Bay. So you got a ton of division games coming up, and you're 17-2 against the Central. That's great, but got to beat up on your own division. So yeah, that's kind of the one thing with me right now. Yeah, the bullpen definitely, but it's also playing better against your division, and hopefully that started last night and that will continue.
Yeah, I thought it needs to continue, and that's what leads us to our next point, and that's in our next top. Leads us to the series this week against the Orioles, and they won last night 4-2. Now Garrett Cole making a start against Pavich for the Orioles. You got Heel against Irvin. I think the Yanks are going to win 2 out of 3 here. I think the Yanks are going to win 2 out of 3. I like the way the pitching lines up with Heel pitching tomorrow and Cole pitching tonight. So I don't know which game it'll be that they'll win, either tonight or tomorrow. But I think they definitely take 2 out of 3 in the series, and that would put them up 3.5 games on the Orioles.
Yeah, it would, which would be some breathing room here. I'm gonna say they lose tonight. Cole goes 5. Bullpen gives up a run or 2, and Baltimore's able to hang on. And tomorrow night, Heel's able to, give him a good outing. He pitches well yet again, and they find a way to get to Cole Irvin. So I think they do win 2 out of 3 here, which would be put them up 3.5, which would be nice, and a little breathing room for yourself because Cleveland's only 1 back or 2 back right now. The Yankees are the best record, so and I don't think with the division, I don't know if Cleveland's going to go away with the record wise. So, if you want that 1 seed, it might be might go down the end with Cleveland. We'll see. I don't know if they'll cool off at any point, but yeah, you want that. You do want that bye to set up your pitching. I know it hasn't worked out for teams most years, but you want to set up your rotation. You want Garrett Cole to pitch in 2 of the 5 games and the LDS instead of him having to burn one in the game 1 of a wild card.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very important to win this division. That's why these 2 games are important. These games against the Orioles are the most important, obviously the most important games of the season, because this will determine what they're going to be doing. Are they going to be playing in a wild card series, or are they going to be playing? Are they going to be are they going to be fighting for a division title? So are they going to they're playing a wild card series? They're going to get a bye. So that's why these games with the Orioles are crucial. They are crucial games, and they're games that the Yankees need to win if they want to get to where they want to get to, and that's get to the World Series for the first time in 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want hopefully home field throughout it. And yeah, I think because the next time Baltimore comes is like the last week of the year, so hopefully
Ooh, that's a big one. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah, that'll be a big one. So maybe that would help. If they win that, maybe because you just played some big time games a couple of days before, it does help them. Instead of winning the division in beginning of September. But yeah, these ones are huge, and yeah, now that you only play your division like 12 times, 12 or each team 12 or 13 times, it does definitely become more meaningful to win these games. And yeah, you already lost 3 or 4 without to them in Camden Yards. So yeah, you want to get a couple now while you're at home, and just in case that tiebreaker comes down to it, and the O's, would beat you, or no? Doesn't the tiebreaker come down to your division record?
I think it's head to head.
Okay, it is head to. Okay, I think maybe I'm thinking the second one. Okay, so yeah, so you want to win the head-to-head battle. In either case, you want to be better in Division 2 because I think that's number 2. But yeah, so you want to play well against them. Yeah, just for the head-to-head kind of tiebreaker if that comes about.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what ends up happening there with the Yankees and Orioles. But we'll talk a little bit about their series with the. We'll talk a little bit about their series with the Braves, and I think this is. We look at the series. I think with Rondon pitching against Sale, Stroman against Morton, Cortez against Waldrop. I think it's 2 out of 3 from the Braves. Braves are not as good as they're still a playoff team, and they're not as good as they were last year. So I think they take 2 out of 3 or the last couple of years. So I think they take 2 out of 3 this weekend.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. I think they could take it 2 out of 3. They knocked Screwball Screwball out of the game already.
Oh, really?
So they're at 5-0 on Tigers right now, which Screwball, right there to win Cy Young. They also maybe the offense is starting to get it going a bit. But yeah, the Braves still got some good lineup. It seems like we never hit Sale, so I would not be surprised if we lose Friday night. But yeah, we get Sunday will be tough because it is Max Fried, and Fried's been pitching really well of late. So yeah, it'd be nice to get 2 out of 3 from them. Yeah, no Acuna. Olsen, like that middle of the order really hasn't totally gone hot yet, like Riley and Olsen. But yeah, when they do, that's a dangerous lineup. Ozuna is still dangerous at the DH. So yeah, expect to take 2 out of 3, and hopefully it's a good 4-2 homestand. You'd hope. You definitely take that going to Toronto. I think it's Toronto next week, or no, they play the Mets.
Play the Mets at the Mets and Toronto. So yeah, I mean. Yeah, if they can go 4-2 here, that would be really, really pretty. Especially gets 2 playoff. I mean, the Orioles fighting for the division, them and the Orioles fighting for the division, and you move on and play the Braves, who still are going to be a playoff team. So yeah, it would be good if they take 2 out of 3. If they take 4 out of 6 this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely would. It would, because even the Mets are starting to play better baseball. So that won't be maybe as easy as we thought a week ago. So yeah, it's crucial to win these games at home, especially when you get Orioles and Braves at home. Definitely take advantage. Because those are 2 playoff teams, and definitely want to put yourself in good position, because that feels like they haven't done that the last couple of years. Play well against the top tier teams.
No, they have not. They need to start doing. They played well. They played really well this year. They got to start doing it more consistently against the top tier teams if they want to get to where they want to get to, and that is their first World Series in 15 years. But we're going to shift over to the Red Sox. Red Sox have been playing really well. They're 2.5 games out of. They're 2 games out of the wild card. 2 games behind Kansas City in the AL wild card. This team, and we asked the question last week, and I said, I don't see if you're going to stay in it by the trade deadline. I think you were right, though. You were right. I think they are. I think the way they played this week, I think they are. I think they are. You saw it starting against the Phillies, down 4-0 on Wednesday night when pretty much nobody in the city was paying attention because they had the Brady thing in the Celtics. They come back and win that game, score 9 runs against the Phillies on Thursday. Then I know they got blown out in game 1 against the Yankees, but then put up 8 runs against the Yankees on Saturday and put up 9 runs against the Yankees on Sunday. And then Rafaela stepping up these last 2 nights for them. Their offense is getting better, man. Their offense is getting better. Tristan Cash is set to come back soon. I think this team is definitely. I think I didn't think they were going to stay in it last week. I can see the threat to get a wild card, and this is a team that's got to make a move at the trade deadline.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do. And I think I would assume that they will, but we'll the last couple of years they've kind of been in between on that. Obviously now it's a new group.
It's a new regime. I think with the new regime they will. I think they will with the new regime. Yeah. The guy who thought this was Tampa is out of there. So I think this is a new regime. I think they're going to make moves at the trade deadline.
Yeah, they absolutely they should. And their rotation's still been pretty good. They got I believe Houck's going tonight, which he's been really good all year long. And and yeah, you talked about Rafaela, Jalen Duran. I kind of cooled off last night. He struck out 3 times, but Jalen Duran's been really good. Rafael, like a lot of these younger guys that are trying to prove themselves in the league have really stepped up for him. Obviously Tyler O'Neill last night, I think he hit the game tying home run. And then later in the inning, it was Rafael coming up with the big hit. So for Boston, for them, it's been the young guys, and Willie Abreu had a really nice start to the year, starting a rehab assignment tonight. So he should be back in a couple of days as well here back in right field. So for them, they're playing really good baseball right now. You took 4 out of 6 from 2 of the best teams in baseball, the Yankees and Phillies, and now you've already taken 2 from Toronto here. And then going this weekend, a Reds team that, been very up and down all year. So definitely could be a nice little run here for Boston. And with the way baseball is right now, with only, I think it's still 11 teams over 500, you go on one of these 8, you win 8 out of 10, you really put yourself in good position to be in a wild card spot and be in good shape with the way baseball is right now. So yeah, they're kind of going to one of those runs, and they win out at 8 out of 10 here. They're definitely putting themselves on the right footing, that wild card spot.
Oh yeah, they are. And Houck actually pitched last night. It's Bello tonight, but they're definitely. If they're in the National League, they're in a wild card spot. They're in the wild card. They're in the NL. So yeah, I mean the way they're playing right now, they're putting themselves in really really good position to get back to the playoffs. It'll be the first time they make the playoffs since the 2021 season when they eliminated the Yankees and the Rays in the playoffs and lost to the Astros. But yeah, I mean they're just this team is overachieved. It's the pitching, the offense is starting to step up. This team has really overachieved this year at 39 and 35. So, and Alex Cora's done a really good job. So they're in really good position. Yeah, they got one more game with the Blue Jays, but then this weekend they head to Cincinnati. And I think looking at the pitching matchups there, Crawford against Abbott, Pivetta against Montas, I think they take 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati. I think they do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think they take 2 out of 3 as well. Montas has been, he has been great. Abbott's been okay. And the Reds' offense this year has just been very hit or miss. So, the way Boston's pitching is, maybe they could kind of keep them a handful of runs all weekend. And you could get out of Cincinnati 2 out of 3, and a very nice road trip with a Toronto team that's not playing very well and a San Diego Padres team that's not playing well at all either right now. And then you got the Marlins after that. So you got a 9-game stretch, after this weekend where, I guess even with the Reds, because they're still under 500 too. Like, you got a stretch here where, they keep really going on a run, and they've started to do that. And they went out through this weekend, very possible. And it's going to be, putting themselves, even closer right there at the Royals, who are starting to come back down to earth here a little bit as well.
Yeah, and we talked about their stretch being tough in July, but in June, this Red Sox, they have a pretty favorable schedule with, the Reds this weekend. They got 3 with the Blue Jays, 3 with the Padres, the Marlins, the A's, and 3 of those 4 series are at home. So this is big for the Red Sox here, because I think this is big for them to take one of those wild card spots, get ahead of Kansas City or Minnesota, get one of those wild card spots, and be in good position before the trade deadline when they try to add to this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they totally can't. Miami's a mess. Oakland's, they're not as bad as I think. They're still 19 games under 500, but they've been fighting. But you got the Rockies too at the end of the month. So if they could put themselves in a good spot, with I don't see the Blue Jays getting it going. Like the Tigers, I don't. The pitching good enough, but can they hit enough? Like, I don't think this is it for the Astros or Rays. Like it's very, it's very possible going to come down to them and the Royals. I think. I don't, to get that last wild card spot. I guess even the Twins as well. Those three are going to battle for, I think, those two spots. So yeah, if they can make a couple moves, Boston's going to be right there with them, with Devers, and again Alex Cora just this weekend, just with the moves. And again, they had the 9 steals on stolen base, or the 9 stolen base they had Sunday night. They had Trevino and Stroman, and the rest of the pitchers Sunday night down to the millisecond of their timing when they throw the ball. So they did an awesome job with that. So yeah, when you got Cora in charge, they're going to be right in there.
You're definitely right about Alex Cora. And you see with the stolen bases, taking advantage of what the game is now. Alex Cora, yes, you can get on him for what happened with the Astros, but he is one of the best managers in the game. I mean, he's had to deal with Chaim. He had to deal with Chaim Bloom for 4 years. I mean, not the first year, but for 3 of the 4 years. He came for pretty much the last 3 years. He had to deal with Chaim Bloom. Give Alex Cora a lot of credit. He's done a great job, and now we'll see what they do. But they got a guy in charge that I feel like is going to be committed to getting play. Unlike Chaim Bloom, I think he's going to be committed to adding players to this team.
Yeah, we're going to see with Barzal. Made some small moves in the offseason. A couple of the pitchers brought in are kind of hurt. A couple of them won't pitch all year. So, but yeah, a couple of the moves definitely with Barzal. I think we'll see how aggressive he is, and you could put this team in there in August, September, and be able to fill Fenway Park where you thought, or going in the year, that place could be half full in July and August as the team's out of the race. So doesn't seem to be the case. And yeah, with Cora, again, last year of his contract, and really hasn't sounded like there's been much talk. He hasn't really.
Red Sox got to give him an extension. Red Sox got to give Cora an extension. They have to. There'll be another mistake the organization would make if they don't give him an extension. They made a huge mistake, 3-4 years ago, firing Dombrowski. They got to do the right thing and extend Cora.
They do, but he's going to want to be probably the highest paid manager. Like, he's probably going to want to make more than the council. Will that ownership group do it right now? With the way that's a huge mistake by this ownership group. They don't pay him. Huge mistake. I think it would too. I would love to get him out of the division. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it would be a total mistake by that ownership group and by Barzal if they're not able to keep him around, because I haven't heard lately what he said. But again, when he went into spring training, I know this was the beginning. They didn't think it would be great this year. He didn't really sound too confident about being here after this year. Like so we'll see what happens. But yeah, he definitely is going to earn a lot of money with him being one of the best managers in all baseball.
He definitely should. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin and Afrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be back next week wrapping up the Stanley Cup Final, talking Yankees and Mets, and we'll be talking about the Red Sox as well. And I forgot about this, and the NBA Draft. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Meat, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.